What's up, guys? Thanks for staying up late with us. This is episode 70 of Top Rope Nation live here on YouTube. Special pay-per-view post-show live cast. I'm Ryan Drosty, your host, and I'm joined by my usual two sidekicks here, Kyle Ross, Justin Joint, and the fourth man on the panel tonight, making his return to Top Rope Nation. You know him from the Oversell Podcast. In the past, it's been a little while since he's been talking pro wrestling, but he's a longtime buddy of ours. Mr. Derick is here with us to break down WWE SummerSlam. Just went off the air, well, like 15 to 20 minutes ago. We got some hot emotions here on the line tonight, so I think we're gonna have a good show. Quick hot takes on what went down here with I think we're going to start off right away with this Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match, but let me throw it out to you guys first. I just want to know what you guys thought. Just a thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down as far as tonight's show went. I would give it a thumbs up. Justin, what about you?
Yeah, 2 thumbs up. I think it was one of the best SummerSlams ever, and for WWE to entertain us nonstop for 4 hours straight is rarity, but I think they pulled it off tonight.
All right. One of the best SummerSlams ever. That's high praise right there. What do you think, Derick?
I was really excited, not with just SummerSlam this weekend, but WWE together as a whole with NXT this weekend just was a nonstop entertaining weekend of professional wrestling. That NXT show Saturday was awesome. SummerSlam I thought was really good, one of the better ones in a few years. I was really happy with this show, and I managed to stay awake through it all, which is impressive.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk NXT because that was a hell of a show last night. This was, if you're a wrestling fan and you were not entertained these last 24 hours, you need to tune out of professional wrestling because we got some great matches the last 2 nights.
I've got to throw a special shout out to a guy that's a local independent wrestler here in I'll say the Mid-South area of Memphis, Mississippi. He wrestled at Joey Janela's show this weekend in New York City. His name is Marco Stunt, and apparently he set the world on fire at Joey Janela's show, and people could not stop raving about it. So I want to give a special shout out to that guy. I've commentated a match with him that he did at a local Memphis show, and seeing that guy blow up, and probably he's now going to be at All In, and probably PWG is going to end up booking this guy too. So I want to throw a special shout out to him.
Very nice.
Good takes.
Yeah. Kyle, what'd you think?
Yeah, it was a thumbs up show. It didn't feel, well, it felt like 6 hours. I guess the pre-show was pretty worthless, but as far as the 4-hour main show, paced about as well as any Big 4 WWE show in a while. Like, it really didn't drag. So it was good in that regard. Yeah,
I would agree. So should we just start with that main event? Because I think anyone tuning in right now, that's probably what's fresh on their mind is what we just saw in the Reigns Lesnar match. And then we'll kind of go back through the rest of the card after that, I think. But
you're the host.
Might as well.
Tell me.
Because we were texting back and forth as that match was going on, especially with Braun coming out. I mean, just to start off, Braun Strowman, obviously, if we're going to talk about the main event, we got to mention Braun Strowman just completely demolished Kevin Owens earlier in the night, did not lose the Money in the Bank briefcase, which I know myself and Justin were a little, I wouldn't say pissed off, but
oh, you were pissed.
not thrilled with the way that match went.
And of course, you were pissed when Finn Balor did the same thing to Baron Corbin, right?
I didn't really care about that match either way.
Oh, really? Oh, a heel didn't get any offense in. Oh, okay.
I didn't.
Not for the Constable. Okay, fair enough. Okay.
Justin, I know you were not so happy with the KO match.
Only as a mark. I mean, I get it. Story wise, it makes sense for Braun, especially where he's going and where he ended up at the end of the night. I just feel bad for Kevin Owens, who is throwing himself off the top of steel cages, and that's his reward.
Yeah. So we had Braun still with the Money in the Bank briefcase. So we kind of talked about in our preview show how they would work that into this main event, because if you had Braun cashing in after Roman wins, which is what most people expected, Roman would win the Universal title, we talked about how that would completely cut off Roman's legs, right? We've been building up for 3 years to Roman Reigns finally beating Brock Lesnar. And if you were to have Strowman cash in, what's the point? So instead, we did get Strowman coming out at the very beginning of the match. And so my initial reaction was we were going to have a triple threat match. And I thought this was really strange because Braun came out and he talked about how he knows the history of the Money in the Bank briefcase and he doesn't want to be a coward, right? And so he's here to tell them that he's going to be watching this match from the front row and he's going to cash in after the match. So they should know that he's right there. Now, what the hell? Is this not a coward move in and of itself? And this is what we were texting about.
It's basically you're announcing I'm a coward instead of just being a coward.
It made no sense at all. So here's Braun, and he could have just cashed in and joined and made it a triple threat, which I assumed is what was going to happen. And instead, he's going to be a coward and watch from the front row, whatever. So we did get a match that was pretty short, which we were hoping for. But they definitely, and this is where I'm going to bring in Justin because he wasn't real happy with the finish. They definitely protected Brock Lesnar. So Justin, you were out there on our Twitter page at Top Rope Nation, live tweeting this match. Give me your hot take, your first reaction to the outcome in the main event at SummerSlam.
They have to have a guarantee from Brock that he's coming back for at least one more match at, say, WrestleMania against Braun. Otherwise, why the fuck are we protecting this guy still? He's the guy who, ended the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania, and the only clean loss he's going to take is from fucking Goldberg. It's
one of the greats.
One of the greats. Yes.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. The only way that main event works is if he's coming back. And I think not just myself, but a lot of people thought this was very possible the end of Brock Lesnar in WWE.
So I do want to throw this out there. If you guys are watching live right now here on YouTube, go ahead and tell us what you thought of the main event here of SummerSlam. Throw it out in the live chat. We'll read some of your comments on the air. Kyle, what did you think of the outcome in the main event here?
Two ways to look at it. Stuff you guys pointed out as far as the storytelling goes. Yeah, it was a little I think. I wasn't happy that Brock was protected a little bit. The usage of Strowman was confusing, not only in the sense of him, I'm not a coward, but I'm not cashing in right now. I'll wait till you guys are done wrestling. And then not only that, but the cash in not happening, oh, by the way, after the match, because Brock took him out. So that was a little confusing and not great, but here's where you have to look at it. Why was all this done in this manner? It was to get, or at least lessen, because there were still some anti-Roman chants, obviously. There's always going to be. It was to get the quote-unquote desired reaction from Roman by Vince. Vince decided, hey, okay, how am I going to get the crowd not to turn on this match right away? Well, I'll bring Braun out. Who gives a fuck if what he says makes sense? If he's out there, we'll get the crowd. And, I was texting you guys. I'm like, I'm literally ready for anything to happen in the next 5 minutes. Like, it's all on the table right now. And
I just got that text message from you, by the way. It literally just popped up on my phone.
There's some problems going on.
Some problems with your network, Kyle.
It's my it's my network. Oh, so you're gonna put
your phone bills on time, Kyle.
You're gonna put this in my lap.
The guy the guy right smack dab in the middle of Iowa is blaming a dude in a major metropolitan city in Ohio.
Hey man, we have some of the best cellular service
people of all time, right there, Derick. Right there. No, but so it was funny because Roman pins him, okay. And I'm like, okay, all right, now we're going to do Roman Braun. And then I'm like, and then we're going to do Roman Braun. And then I'm like, okay, we're not going to do Roman Braun. And the SummerSlam graphic comes up at the bottom, and they didn't do it. So this was the whole thing. Yeah, there was logicals you could drive a truck through, but it was all done with the intention of, hey, we can use this stuff for future Roman Reigns video packages. And I can excuse some of it solely because at least Brock Lesnar is not the Universal Champion anymore. I think for that...
Amen, brother.
I think for that and that alone, I'll forgive anything that maybe I didn't like. I thought it was going to be a double whammy that we were going to get rid of the briefcase too. But, oh well, I could take it. And I love, by the way, love Daniel Cormier going on Twitter.com and saying, nice, just ripping Brock's physique.
I did think that too. He looked a little, lighter than usual.
I wonder why. I wonder if someone's about ready to enter the USADA testing pool.
Yeah. No, I got that too. Obviously, the reason they set Strowman out there was to lessen the blow from the fans there in Brooklyn, because all four of us were down there in New Orleans at WrestleMania, and that was brutal to watch live. So this wasn't going to go over any better. But do you guys think that they should have just thrown Braun in and made it a triple threat? I mean, you still could have had Roman win. He still could have beat Brock, and Braun wouldn't have had to lose. Does it make Braun look like too much of a coward to have not cashed in right at the start of the match? What do you think, Derick?
I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here, and I actually liked everything that happened in that main event. One thing I really liked was when Lesnar started attacking Strowman. With me, I noticed small things. Him launching that briefcase to the entryway, I thought was spectacular. Now, I kind of held my breath because if he throws it wrong, some dude's going to get smacked in the head and the WWE is going to get sued or whatever like that. But I like Brock, taking the chance of, if I get past Roman, I've already got Braun beaten down, and then launching the briefcase into the entranceway is making it harder for Braun to cash in. So that's that statement. I don't know. Maybe he could have. What if he would have just done this? Come out and just stood there the whole time during the match, that briefcase, and not cut that promo? Would that have changed what you guys thought?
For me, not really, because I would have been wondering why the hell he's not cashing in. I still would have wondered the same thing. But no, I think overall I liked it. I think all of us kind of feel the same way, that this was just something we wanted to see get out of the way, like get the belt off Brock. Now can we finally do something heading forward on Raw with the top title belt? It was something that had to happen. I was watching the show with a group of people here that are not the biggest Roman Reigns fans, and their hate for Roman Reigns has made me more of a fan of him, just to kind of tease them. But when Roman won, I'm just like, okay, finally. We've been waiting 3 years for this. Now can we do something interesting? That's kind of just the takeaway for me from the main event. I don't think the crowd was as bad as they thought it would be. I think it got as good of a reaction as it possibly could have. And so here we are, Roman Reigns, Universal Champion. Raw finally has a world champion.
And I didn't see anything about beach balls going on through the Barclays Center too.
No, because they basically grabbed the crowd's ADHD by the throat and said, "No, you won't." Yeah. Is what this was. It was like, "Oh, here's Braun Strowman. You better keep your eye on Braun Strowman. Don't you dare play the beach ball because Braun Strowman's here." And then we're gonna have the red hot start to the match. I don't know about you guys. I thought they were basically going to repeat the Goldberg finish, to be honest.
Yeah.
They didn't. Match kind of went going on, but there was really no breaks. They just, again, you guys have all made some good points with the logic maybe not being there, but I think all things considered, given venue, what could have happened with the crowd, I'll call this a success just because, again, Brock Lesnar, who I think is probably one of the three most unprofessional big-time wrestlers of all time, only topped by Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash, is not the champion anymore, and I'll take that.
I'm going to go back to something Kyle said a couple of weeks ago on your show, and he said, we always bag on the WWE, and then in the end, we always say, "By damn, Vince McMahon did it again." And sure enough, I think he pulled it off this time.
That is the Kyle Ross line right there.
This match was just all about Vince McMahon feeling good about himself and being like, "Hey, the crowd didn't shit on Roman Reigns when he won the title." That's what this was.
Yeah,
that's what this was more than anything else. That's you have to realize that's what this was. It was not about telling a classic professional wrestling story. It was, I want to get in, I want to get out. I got my video package.
Yeah, I think that's can't really disagree with that. So, Kyle, what you're saying is they finally crowned.
I said it. Of course, you can't disagree with it.
Yeah, they finally crowned him. Roman Reigns has been crowned finally.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it's so funny, this whole thing that we're like coronating him because he's been coronated before. I mean, this is a guy who, him beating Triple H at WrestleMania was an alleged coronation, I guess. I just finally he beat Brock. I think is what this is all about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I know what this is all about.
Yeah. Now we just need that Matt Riddle cash in at some point.
We're going to get to that too. Yeah. So for those of you tuning in right now, I do want to say if you've never tuned into the show before, we put out a podcast every week. You can check us out on iTunes, everywhere podcasts are found, topropenation.com. If you're liking this post show, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Check out all of our YouTube videos. We are doing these pay-per-view post shows every month now, live. So look forward to every month, as well as a pay-per-view preview show, which we put out a few days ago here on YouTube. And I got to say, guys, our predictions were pretty much in line with a lot of the matches. There were some surprises down the line, but I did not see the pre-show, by the way. Did you guys watch the pre-show?
R.I.P.
Yeah, because I got a
revival. R.I.P. That's what that when I sent you a text that said in my head, that was like, this is what it. R.I.P. the revival.
All right, I'm going to talk Derick off the ledge here. Okay,
it's all good
because it's funny you brought up the pre-show, or not the pre-show, our preview show, Ryan.
Yeah,
the two matches that I got wrong between this and TakeOver, I kind of had changed my mind between that preview show and when the time happened, Kairi Sane winning the women's title at TakeOver, and then the Revival losing here. I've kind of made peace with the Revival, and here's what I think you have to understand, Derick, and anyone else who's yelling RIP Revival. This is not an indictment of the Revival as an act or the WWE, believe it or not. Just hear me out. You just have to understand that main roster WWE is the worst possible place for the Revival to get over and realize their potential as an act. I don't know if it's anyone's fault per se. Maybe it's Triple H's fault for getting our hopes up by having this really good tag team that he had to know in the back of his head would not get over on the main roster. And here's why. Okay. Let's imagine for a second that the Revival is booked to perfection. Okay. And first of all, there have been some things out of WWE's because the injuries did not help them the first year. But let's just imagine that they were booked perfectly. Does Vince McMahon like the Revival? Even if that's the case? Do you think Vince McMahon doesn't like Southern Tag Team Wrestling? Do you think he likes an homage to it? And again, I'm not saying anyone's wrong or right. I'm just saying that any other place, the Revival is best tag team in the world, is recognized best tag team in the world. I just don't know if they fit in with main roster WWE, and that's a damn shame, but I think it's the way it is.
How much of that is because the Raw tag team division is the shits right now too?
I don't think it's. I really don't. Okay. I think if they mowed all those, what I call them these opening act house show teams, essentially they could just mow through them all. Hit classic 80s finishers against them, and all of us who grew up worshiping the Midnight Express, this team is so cool. I think Vince McMahon would just sit back and say, what is this? I mean, do you think Vince McMahon stays up at night thinking about Midnight Express Fantastics matches? He doesn't. I got a news for you. So I mean, I just think it's unfortunate, and we've seen this before in wrestling. Wish I had an example on the tip of my tongue that an act that's very good comes to WWE and it's just not a fit.
To clarify, are you saying that there's no way they could get over with Vince, or that you don't think they could get over with the main roster crowd?
Vince.
Okay.
Yeah, because a portion of the main roster crowd's an NXT crowd, and there's a built-in understanding. I think, there's a certain segment of the audience that loves the Revival, and is just like Derick, and a little bit like me saying this sucks. But I just think the guy calling the shots probably doesn't get the act, and if it was explained to him, just wouldn't really be impressed.
But the B team, you think, is something he gets?
I think he laughs at it, which
the first thing.
Comedy. Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as you ask that, I know Vince every time he sees it. Bo Dallas is hilarious.
Well, we talked about it on the preview show, where we were saying, God, logic would indicate the Revival has to win this match. But then we also talked about, the B team, they've got the new t-shirts. They gave them a new theme song. You know how they are. Like, are they actually going to beat them right away? No,
I think that Ambrose and Rollins or it can't be or I should say McIntyre Ziggler will squash the B team pretty soon. And then those teams will be a tag feud. Title feud. You probably could make the argument, again, I said this on our preview show, that Ziggler and McIntyre should have been the tag team champions since kind of forming.
Oh, yeah. No question.
I say reform American Alpha and have them go after.
As long as they have a new theme song.
Yeah.
Well, there's some talk of Jason Jordan, his health.
Yeah.
Right now, not being so
sounding
great.
bad. Yeah.
It sucks.
Derek, what else happened on the pre-show? Because I don't think any of us watched it other than you. So I did see the start of the Rusev, Lana, Almas Vega match, but
yeah, I don't really remember after 4 hours of that main roster show. The pre-show is just coming into me in shambles.
It
Vega,
was sad.
Yeah, Vega and Rusev got the win, or Vega and Almas got the win, but.
Yeah, it was sad. It felt like a match wrestled in front of an arena that was 1/3 filled.
Yeah,
and that in the pantheon of SummerSlam matches, it was probably right next to a little better than Bad News Brown, Ken Patera. Because I bring that up because it felt very much like a buffer match on an '80s pay-per-view, where it was like, okay, here's guys and they're doing their things sort of at half speed and with no meaning. It was there. It was just 4 people doing their shtick at half speed in front of a crowd that was 1/3 of the way full.
Sounds like a weekend in college at Kyle Ross's apartment.
Yeah, in some regards, okay.
All right, so the main show kicked off with, I thought, a hell of a match. Intercontinental title. Maybe a little surprising that was first out of the curtain, but
it's an important spot on the card.
Yeah, it is, and they set the tone. So Rollins and Ziggler, we've been critical of Dolph Ziggler, God knows, many times on the show in the past, but they had a hell of a match. Resulted in Rollins, which I think was the right decision. I can't remember if we all picked Rollins to win on the preview show or not, but yeah, Rollins walks out IC champion, which obviously if the long-term plan is something with him and Dean splitting apart and feuding over that title, they had to do this here. So what do you guys think of the match overall? I think, Justin, you're wearing the Iowa Zone shirt there. Were you satisfied with Seth Rollins' performance tonight?
CrossFit Thanos coming out with the gauntlet boot. How freaking amazing was that?
Yes.
The only way this match could have been better is after the blackout, as if Dolph would have disintegrated like in Infinity War.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Rollins.
Yeah, we also debated on our preview show a couple days ago whether we would get that Dean Ambrose heel turn tonight, which we did not. There's a little tease of it there, I thought, in the celebration where Seth had his back turned to him, but nope, just a clear celebration. We're gonna draw this out a little bit. Were you guys surprised at that, Kyle?
As soon as it was the opening match, I knew there was gonna be no turn.
Yeah,
that's something you save for later in the show,
right? So solid match there.
I thought it was too. I'll be honest with you. I bet you of the 4 of us, I liked this match the least. It was definitely good and picked up at the end. But to me, this match was Exhibit A as to why I say your average WWE match needs to be shorter. I thought the pacing at the beginning was actually not good.
Yeah. And
kind of lost the crowd until Rollins was able to integrate some of the high spots into the match. I thought Rollins was great in this match. I thought Dolph Ziggler was not, except for the Rick Rude tights.
Once he hit that kind of the reverse superplex off the top, really brought everything.
Yeah.
If it would have been me, I actually would have, after seeing the first 2 matches, I would have switched New Day, Bludgeon Brothers, put those up first, because that seemed to get a better crowd, a little more hyped, and they got into it a little more, and then have the Intercontinental title match.
That's Derick with all my heart and soul. Good takes tonight.
Man, I'm on fire.
Except you can't start the show with a disqualification.
That is, I love Justin Joint with all my heart and soul as well.
Feeling a little left out over here, Kyle.
Say something smart. That's all you got to do.
I really enjoyed the ending to the Bludgeon Brothers New Day match, because just the frustration of they're giving us everything we've got. We haven't seen anything like this. We got to get out of here. I thought they told a great story in that match. And I really enjoyed the end of it. And I thought it was a great tag match too. It was energetic. You know, those guys were flying all over the place, and I thought everything about that match was great.
No, yeah, I thought it was a little surprising to me at first because I thought the New Day might win because the Bludgeons have lost a lot of steam in recent months. But I did like the finish and like what Derek's saying, that they did give them everything that they had, because it does add a little extra wrinkle to the Bludgeon Brothers in this feud moving forward, which God knows the Bludgeon Brothers haven't had much interest around them in recent months. So maybe we can make this into something. They're pairing them with the arguably, well, I'd say the most over act on SmackDown in the tag division. So.
I think the New Day has a case to be the greatest WWE tag team in history.
Whoa.
That's a little far.
Whoa, man.
In terms of being over and having good matches, there ain't a lot of teams that can match up with them in those two components.
Tell you what, man, Legion of Doom's going to come kick your ass for that one.
And not WWE Legion of Doom with their plastic shoulder pads. NWA Legion of Doom, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
WWE Legion of Doom, come on.
No, I think I might agree with Kyle on that take.
Love Justin Joy.
Was it last week? that's the only reason I said that. I'm just trying to get a little bit of love.
Okay.
Last week we talked, about Heart Foundation and where they ranked. But yeah, like Kyle said, match quality, longevity. I think there is a real chance they're the best tag team ever.
I'm astonished at what I'm hearing tonight.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, just to add what Derick said, because I absolutely agree with his breakdown when it was like, the Bludgeons getting frustrated and turning to the mallet. We're obviously getting a rematch here, but I love the sprint feel of it. Especially when you compare it to what I just talked about, that Rollins Ziggler match where they just started kind of like laying there at the beginning, to let the crowd know, don't worry, we're going, we could be like Okada too, and we can go under 20, and we're going to let you know that by doing a bunch of meaningless shit on the mat for the first 5 to 10 minutes. But this was just, let's go balls out right away. And I loved it.
I did too.
All right. So the next match was the Money in the Bank briefcase match. And we've kind of already hit on this early in the intro to the show. But what's that? What'd you say?
He loved it.
He loved it. Man, this was poor Kevin Owens, man, destroying his body.
He bumped really well in this.
Yes. We don't deserve Kevin Owens. We really don't. And Kevin Owens is just that poor little guy taking all those bumps.
Man, yeah, he bumped all over the place in this one too, for as brief as it was. A squash match, Strowman getting the win. At this point, I was getting pretty nervous that we were going to get the Strowman cash in following a Reigns victory, which I absolutely did not want to see, just because it would ruin 3 years of booking. But that is not what we got, although there was some question marks in the main event, which we already just addressed. So I don't really have anything else to say about this match. Justin?
I guess just two things is when he came out in the KO in the Bank shirt, it gave me legit hope that something was going to happen. and I'll say, I guess my main disappointment with the stipulation of, like he could, Braun could lose it with disqualification and whatnot, is that played no part in it. Like I was expecting, maybe KO would like spit in his face or something. That just, nothing.
That's a great take again from Iowa. I had that in my notes that I would, if you want to argue from KO's perspective, yeah, they could have worked something in where he tried to get Braun DQ'd, but they just kind of went with a straightforward squash. But I'll say this, and this goes for a lot of matches we're going to talk about tonight. I'm glad they went short instead of like 10 to 12 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the women's title match, this is one I'm going to have plenty to say about, and I think you guys will too. Charlotte Flair is again the SmackDown Women's Champion after this.
Charlotte who?
Charlotte Flair.
Charlotte who?
That's my next point, actually, Kyle.
Love Ryan Drosty.
Goddamn, better love Ryan Drosty. So we talked about this on the show before. So would Charlotte Flair, this is what I'm going to throw out first of all, before into the match. Would she be in the position she's in if her last name wasn't Flair? Kyle?
Probably not. No.
Okay. Derick?
Possibly. I think she can work enough as a heel. and she's athletic enough, possibly. I won't say all the way yes. I'll say possibly.
All right, and Justin.
Yeah, she's super talented.
Okay, because we said a couple weeks ago on the podcast that Charlotte was kind of like the women's Roman Reigns. And I thought that was interesting because Charlotte got a very negative response from the crowd in Brooklyn tonight. And I think that might have surprised him a little bit because at the end of the match, after Charlotte cashed in, to me, and I'm going to get your takes on this because I talked with a couple other people about this as it was happening, and they didn't really agree with me. I thought certainly they were trying to turn Becky Lynch heel by what happened. But Becky got cheered because the crowd was really negative on Charlotte here. Now, the announcers were selling it as Becky doing something that was terrible. Becky walked up the ramp looking like a heel. I'm pretty sure they wanted Becky to come off as a heel here, but they cheered her like crazy.
That crowd didn't get that producer sheet, did they, baby?
No.
Well, that's my first question, though. Do you guys think that they wanted Becky to be the heel here? Was that the intention, Kyle?
Yes, absolutely. And they fucking misread it as the day is long.
Okay, so I'm not out of my mind here because I had this discussion with some others that thought that wasn't the case. I thought it was pretty obvious. But yeah, they clearly wanted Becky to be the heel, which is that not a disastrous move? We've talked about how Charlotte should be the heel in this situation, correct?
If Charlotte was Roman Reigns and Becky was like Dean Ambrose and we get that reaction, how many fucking think pieces are we getting Monday morning about the Universal title picture, man?
Yeah. So I was puzzled to say the least at the end of how they booked this one.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that that's not what they expected to happen. Like that is what the response they were expecting.
Why did the announcers sell it as a heel move, though?
That was literally one of the greatest face responses from the crowd for a heel turn.
They loved it.
I mean, they were like, I mean, that put like Batista Ray 09 to shame.
No, they've completely turned around Becky Lynch's trajectory, though, because a couple of months ago, Becky Lynch was dead to rights on SmackDown. Nobody could care less about. I mean, the fans still liked her, but she was far, far away from anything relevant on SmackDown, and that was a terrible use of a great talent. But I am curious to see how they do book this feud going forward. I think Becky and Charlotte's a feud we've needed for a long time, and now we're finally going to get it. I don't think they had the pulse of the crowd in how they built this at all.
If they're smart, they're going to have Charlotte come out on Tuesday and cut a promo on, I don't know why my friend did that to me after this match, and try to be a heel trying to get fake sympathy or something like that. And if they ride the waves, they could still kind of go Becky the overface, Charlotte a great heel.
I don't think they're going to do it.
I don't think so either, but that I actually came here to say one thing. I like Charlotte more in NXT when she was lighter.
Oh, come on.
Oh, no.
Derick Meltzer Chopel.
Oh, by the way, we should talk about this. Charlotte, by the way, going after Uncle Dave.
Yeah.
Twitter.com. I mean, has that caused a rift in the long-term Dave Meltzer Ric Flair relationship?
Man, they were partying. Dave and her dad were partying back in the 80s. I mean, this is a long-term relationship here. Is that Flair Steamboat match no longer 6 stars that Meltzer retroactively gave it to? Oh, man. No, it was Charlotte was a little off in this match too. I mean, that corkscrew that she hit to the outside that didn't connect at all. I mean, it was.
I don't think she's ever connected on it.
Yeah,
it looks nice. You're right.
It was visually stunning, but did not really connect.
Let's talk about. I mean, obviously, everyone's just going to talk about the Becky heel turn and the crowd response to it. But as far as the match itself, I thought all three worked really hard in this. This was like a good effort. I thought again, it was well paced. They sort of got to it. They didn't waste our time. They got right to the storyline of dissension between Becky and Charlotte. Carmella trying to further it. I was a little surprised that Carmella won. Maybe I shouldn't have been, but I'm not sure if it's the direction I would have gone.
You could see what was going to happen as soon as she synced in that disarmor and Charlotte was right there. And sure enough, I got the feeling, and I got that feeling too when Nakamura turned at WrestleMania when they were standing there. I'm like, Becky's about to go heel. And sure enough, we got what happened. And I kind of popped to to be honest, at home. I thought it was awesome.
Hey, maybe it'll come out that, they hugged 2 or 3 times there really tight and close. Maybe Charlotte whispered in Becky's ear, I liked you when you were lighter in NXT.
What are we doing here, sports fans?
I'm just saying, if maybe it was an actual heel turn on Charlotte's part, it's going to come out.
Maybe she said Dave Meltzer was right, and that's what really ticked her off.
We're going off the rails.
And speaking of Meltzer, I don't know if you guys checked out. He did his live report of the show. He loved this turn and thought it was so well done and whatnot. But he did so in spite of his report in the Observer, where he pretty clearly stated horsewomen versus horsewomen was the goal for Survivor Series. And I don't know how you do that anymore unless you force them to team up.
Yeah, how do you get there from this point?
Well, him and Hogan seem to be in a race to see who's more out of touch with things.
No one could touch Terry.
There's another thing I wanted to say. I'm glad Justin brought that up. Podcasters don't know about the Brotherhood of Wrestling podcast.
Jesus.
Hulk
Hogan, man, going after those people backstage. Didn't accept his apology.
Fuck Hulk Hogan, man.
Love Derick with all my heart and soul.
Man, fuck him. Dude, I want to see him face Matt Riddle in a match.
Okay, now you're kind of losing your mind here a little bit.
Actually, I want to see a shoot fight between the two so he can break his jaw in 3 places.
Jesus.
Were you the message board guy saying you hoped Vader started shooting at Super Bowl 5? Was that you?
If you guys are tuning in right now, looks like we got about 22 of you out there watching right now. Micah's there. John is out there. Let us know what you thought of SummerSlam. Hit that chat room on the right side of your page. Give it a grade, A through F. Let us know what your favorite match of the night was, what your least favorite match of the night was, and just in general what you thought of tonight, and for that matter, TakeOver last night, because we're going to get to TakeOver here in just a little bit as well. So, yes, we got to talk about TakeOver. Hell of a show. Following the triple threat, we had Joe and AJ. Man, Samoa Joe.
Shit. I bag on commentary a lot in the WWE. Corey Graves in this match had some very just kind of small comments that added so much to this match. Like when AJ tried to get Samoa Joe up for the Styles Clash and he hit it, and when Joe kicked out, it was, well, he didn't have that right arm or the right leg tucked over that right arm, so he didn't get him all the way. And usually I'm the first to bag on commentators, but they were on point for some of these matches, and that really added to a lot of these matches tonight, especially with Joe, AJ, stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought Corey was really good tonight. The coach, not so much. Could we get Renee Young out there again, please?
So yeah, for the record, I didn't think Renee Young was a grand slam home run on Raw, but just anyone being in that seat other than the coach makes you realize how absolutely fucking atrocious Jonathan Coachman is. And I don't think, and there was no bickering from Graves and Cole when Coach was out on Monday. I mean, he's just, and then I remember tonight, it was the pre-show match. The first thing he said, I was like, God damn it, the fucking Coach is back. God, he stinks. Also, has Percy Watson passed Byron Saxton in terms of being a quality announcer? I think Percy's gotten pretty good. Both last night at NXT and 205 Live. I think he adds a little bit more than Byron. He's not as big of the tool, for lack of a better term.
I would agree. I think Percy's better right now too. Yeah, so Samoa Joe, though, he is hitting an all-time high right now. And how about Wendy Styles? Give up for Wendy Styles holding that kid throughout the match. Her arm, man, she had to be tired holding it.
I'm the first one to pass my kid off to my wife. I've held it for 5 minutes. What do you want me to do?
Give it up for Wendy Styles. But no, excellent match here. This was one where we kind of went back and forth on our preview show too on who was going to win. And I thought the finish was fine. I thought the DQ or whatever was what they needed to do, because I want to see these guys wrestle more. And if you're not going to have Joe win right off the bat, you can't have AJ win. So this is pretty much the option they were left with. And no, I thought it was a fantastic bout throughout. I thought it didn't go too long. I thought it was as intense as hell. And I liked the finish. Did you guys like the finish?
I did. everything about that match was fun. The psychology of the start of the match where AJ's giving those leg kicks and just the smart of chopping a man down, and then the finish of the emotional response of someone threatening, telling your wife who's sitting over there, I'm about to be your daddy. You know, that's just, that's ballsy WWE, ballsy.
Yeah, it was a great match. They really laid into each other. And it's funny that you mentioned, Ryan, that you didn't think it went too long or didn't feel like it went too long, because, you know, it actually went 22, 23 minutes. And especially with a non-finish, which seems to be kind of the theme with AJ Styles' current run with the title. It told a great story, and it's obviously just the beginning of this feud. It was well done.
Mr. Ross.
The only negative about this match is, you know, they went for the heat early with Joe talking trash on the mic, and then they still did like a lockup and headlocks. I really wish there was some quality control, and the agents would say, "God damn it, guys, stop doing lockups to start matches." You know, in these, if it's a program where they're feuding and it's like a quote unquote blood feud. But other than that, I thought it was Joe's best one-on-one pay-per-view match in WWE. It's probably AJ's. I think definitely AJ's best of the year as well. I was fine with the DQ, just as you guys were, because, you know, as soon as Joe did that thing on the mic where he's like, I'll be your daddy, you could see it coming. And I assume the rematch will be Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
I want to know, I've got a question for you guys. Your reaction when you heard AJ's daughter say, "You're bleeding, daddy."
Well, I was going to bring that up because when he went over there to her, she was like visibly shaking. Did you guys notice that?
Yep.
Man, that kind of made me feel bad a little bit as a dad, because she was clearly really frightened by seeing her father with blood. And by the way, that was the second match that had blood?
Yeah, Rollins had color too.
Yeah. So
yeah, AJ stood and responded with, "Red equals green, baby. Red equals green."
Kyle, you think this match for AJ was better than the Nakamura match at Money in the Bank?
Yes.
Okay. They're both, to me, they're pretty close. I'd say those are AJ's best two matches of the year also. But I think I'd have to watch them back to choose, but they're both right up there.
I mean, if you thought the other, I mean, it's not something that I would start, doing backflips over and say, "My God, I can't believe some of the things I'm hearing." But no, this struck me as, I mean, you know me, I was pretty critical of that series, the Styles Nakamura stuff. So, and I enjoyed this, watching it live quite a bit.
Yeah.
Second DQ in 5 matches. A lot of times that can get you in trouble. It seems like they got away with it here.
That was a criticism I saw on Twitter floating around, was the DQ finishes, which is kind of WWE's signature.
I don't mind DQ finishes if feuds are going to continue, though. Yeah. It's better than when there's a definitive pin and then they're like, well, we're going to just do a rematch anyway. Kind of like that Bryan Big Cass feud that we always rip on.
Yeah. So the longest match of the night, and we'll go to the Miz and Daniel Bryan here. 23 minutes and 30 seconds was the longest match of the night. The video package before this match, I tweeted about it. Amazing work by the WWE production team. And this also, I think, went the right direction, with the Miz coming out on top with the brass knucks given to him by his wife, who had the baby carriage next to her. Obviously no baby in there, but
we have the same blanket, by the way.
No shit.
Mazzy. Yeah, that same way. I looked at it and I actually paused it. I'm like, we have that fucking same blanket. Yeah.
That's not surprising, because the sunglasses that the Miz wore out to the ring tonight, Kyle, looked like something you might have worn on one of our podcasts in the past.
Who knows? Maybe you got it in Cleveland. The blankets.
You guys got the same taste, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, my wife bought it. I mean, I don't know.
So what do you guys think of this match, Justin? We've been anticipating this one for months. We finally got it, Miz and Bryan.
I loved it. I thought it was exactly what it needed to be. The fact that, all Daniel Bryan could do was talk about how much he wanted to punch Miz in the face, and the match ended with Miz punching him in the face, obviously with a foreign object. It was just it was beautiful. It was just beautiful. And it's funny. My wife asked me in the middle of the match, she's like, well, who are you rooting for? And I did the analytical, well, I think this guy's going to win and blah, blah, blah. And I realized after Bryan got the second yes lock on Miz, I was like, oh, I'm rooting for the Miz because I really don't want him to tap out here.
Yeah.
So I was really happy with the outcome. The match was fantastic. And hopefully the rumors are true that Bryan's going to re-sign with the WWE and this feud continues. It's amazing.
Well, that's the other point too, is if he hasn't re-signed, there's no way he could win this match either. But I think this storyline has a lot more fuel left in the tank, and we'll be getting a lot more from this. Derick, you are a resident Yes Movement member who was actually on a Raw broadcast during the Yes Movement when the fans took over the ring. So with your history with Daniel Bryan,
wait, you were in the ring for that?
Or you were ringside?
Yeah, I was on the outside.
I was all ready to.
I was part of Occupy Raw. I was on the crowd outside of the ring.
My God,
you didn't know that?
No one tells me anything.
Yeah, man, I've got my shirt that I got from that framed up in my room. I need to get Daniel to sign it one day. But
my God,
yeah, this was the match I was looking forward to the most. Probably my favorite match of the night.
Yes.
One question though. Where is Brie Bella not watching a TV at an awkward fucking angle, running out there after she sees her Maurice hand something to the Miz? You know, come on. We can't get Brie out there to confront. I mean, that's where we're going right now. The next step is Maurice Miz versus Brie and Daniel at some point.
Probably. I
could even see Brie versus. Well, I don't know. I mean, Maurice, how far removed is she from giving birth? What was that? Was that like March or something? Because it was right before WrestleMania, right?
Yes.
It was.
Yes.
When can he be cleared for contact on that?
She probably could be by now.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention.
You pay attention to those birthing classes, Kyle?
No, I was on my phone all the time.
They'd probably say 6 months. So that was probably in October, something like that.
Well, I was gonna throw out the idea of Evolution.
Yeah.
You know, will it be Brie and Maurice at Evolution? I mean,
I didn't think about that. Which the world is blowing up because apparently we're gonna get Alexa Trish at Evolution.
Yeah, that one's announced for sure.
Yeah.
And then there was something else people are upset about, and Sasha Banks is just sitting over there like, you know.
Oh, Rousey and Nikki Bella.
Oh.
The rumor. That one has not been announced, but that's the rumor. So
yeah, they were kind of teasing it a little bit tonight.
Yeah. So how about the Bellas, by the way? They got a pretty negative reaction from the crowd.
Well, as they should. I hate the Bellas.
I don't know.
I liked them better when they were in NXT and they were lighter.
Oh,
we're never going to be able to have you back on the show, Derick. I'm going to have to be like, by the way, this guy in the red shirt, by the way, he's not a usual cast member of Top Rope Nation.
For the weekend, I'm in an original Tommaso Ciampa shirt too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I think the reason for that negative reaction was it felt very shoehorned, them being in the ring. Yeah, I think that's what it was. This match deserves a lot of praise. I think it's going to maybe be a little forgotten, and that's a damn shame. The live crowd didn't seem that into it, but I thought this was just an absolutely incredible match that was easily the best of the night. It was actually very different than most WWE matches, which is why I think the crowd wasn't into it, because they were not doing traditional WWE tropes during the match. It was very Southern style. Quite frankly, Derick, I had to take you back. I mean, you right down to the brass knucks finish. I mean, this was this was a match you would see in Memphis in the 80s. This was like Jerry Lawler, Bill Dundee.
You know what they could have done too is Miz has Bryan in the figure 4. Why not get Miz near the ropes and give him a little extra, pull the old extra leverage, from pulling on the ropes. I miss things like that. I miss abdominal stretches where people would stick their arm out and grab that rope when the refs aren't looking. That seems to be a lost art in professional wrestling.
Yeah.
A big key with this match compared to like what I think made this match the match of the night is Daniel Bryan is one of the few people who I think could have pulled this off. This didn't feel like a traditionally agented WWE match. It felt like Daniel Bryan very much came up with some unique stuff. Miz was on board, and it was not replaceable. It was not like, Dolph Ziggler matches where it's like they just do stuff, and half the guys in the WWE roster, 3/4 of the guy in the WWE roster could be doing the same thing. This felt like Daniel Bryan's presence and his mind for wrestling, making it extraordinarily unique. And Miz did a good job too. Let's not just give all the praise to Daniel Bryan. Miz was very good in this too.
Miz is Miz has impressed me more and more, I think, as every year goes on. He just seems to get better and better, and he's got to get a world title run, I think, within the next year.
I would assume, are we all in agreement? I think he's going to be the guy who beats AJ. It seems somewhat logical.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm. If it's not Joe.
Did Bryan take a kind of a crazier looking bump in this match, or was that something else?
Yes, he did.
When he took a flip or something, right?
Yes, it was early in the match.
Yeah. That don't do that. Dude, please don't do that, Bryan. That's all I ask.
The aforementioned squash match where Finn Balor defeated Baron Corbin in 1 minute and 35 seconds. So Kyle said we were kind of ragging on the fact that KO got destroyed, but you were joking that we didn't have a problem with this one. I think for me, the reason is KO's ceiling's a lot higher than the Constable, in my opinion. And you don't think so?
It was. I think it depends if you're being honest. Yes, KO is a former Universal Champion. I'm not convinced that the Constable will ever get there.
The greatest Universal Champion.
It's true. It is true.
I don't know about that.
Oh, Mr. Bill Goldberg over there.
What a reign he had. What a reign. What a win.
I want to hear Justin's reaction when we found out the Demon was coming out tonight.
That's what was my next point too. We finally get the Demon back, and it's for a match with Baron Corbin. What'd you think about that, Justin?
Have you guys seen the videos of like when the Beatles start playing and it cuts to the crowd of all the females just screaming? That was me in my household. So I got to give a shout out to on Twitter, Kyle at Kyler413, who called me out last week. I mentioned that I was afraid they were going to blow the Demon on Baron Corbin. Like it was going to be kind of a waste of the Demon. My thought when I said that was that it was going to be a competitive match. The fact that the Demon came out and just squashed Baron Corbin was exactly what needed to happen. He showed a ferocity that was 1,000 times better than the smiling Finn Balor we've been getting. So I loved it. Splooge.
And you have to give credit to Baron Corbin here, because when he saw that the Demon was coming out and him screaming like, this isn't what I signed up for, and his eyes are wide and he was showing fear at what he was having to face, you have to give Corbin credit.
Good character work from the Constable.
Yeah, I actually pointed that out to my wife. I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. He's selling this shit."
I'm not going to go so far to say good character work. I think any junior high kid with any drama experience could have done just as good as Baron Corbin did there. But
they could have done the Baron Corbin, like him shrugging it off like it's still Finn Balor or something like that. But the fact that they were smart enough to tell him like, yo, be scared just a little bit.
Yeah, that was smart. Yes.
Yeah, it totally worked. The Demon. The crowd, as soon as the lights went out, the crowd knew what they were getting and they were fired up for it. And it made this match way more memorable than I think anyone thought it would be going in. And yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm very glad that, the match was short, because once he came out as the Demon, the result was never in doubt, obviously. And this is 3 for 3 on SummerSlams that he's used the Demon gimmick. So next year, cue the anticipation.
I wish he would have done the Demon, like a Demon jester thing at WrestleMania. That would have been incredible. But
he didn't win, though, was the problem. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Look at Kyle Ross jumping on the Finn Balor train over there.
Yeah.
I've never said a negative thing about Finn Balor. I said he's doing
Oh, yes. Come on. Do I have to pull the archives?
Pull him. I say he's fine. You're the guy. You're the one who thinks, they should like build a time machine and have him beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 3. I think he's just fine where he is on the card.
Is that me or Justin?
Both.
Both. Okay. Why not? Hulk Hogan's a terrible human being.
Well, that's true.
This podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you just don't understand the brotherhood of wrestling. That's what.
And you guys should be happy because, to be honest, the way this was done, Roman's going to need contenders moving forward, and I can see that being a match. Now that Brock's not the champion, I can see Finn getting in Universal title matches because, I think I'd mentioned that before. Vince McMahon just had no interest ever in doing Brock Lesnar versus Finn Balor. I think he thought the idea, and you could criticize him. Maybe he's wrong, but it's ultimately his promotion. He just thought the match was a ridiculous pairing.
You're going down a dangerous path there, Mr. Ross. You're going to tease the internet wrestling community that they could have Finn Balor against Roman Reigns.
Well, they had good matches before. I mean, it's kind of logical. And I mean, there's only so many guys, on a brand that can be in that picture.
I still want the Demon versus Sister Abigail. That's what I'm still hankering for that.
Dear God, no.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Thank you. Okay.
Speaking of stories that have died a slow death.
Demon Jeff Hardy.
Actually, I was going to say Shinsuke Nakamura, but man, I thought this was a pretty forgettable match. It wasn't bad, but it's just kind of indicative of where Nakamura has become on the main roster. I mean, he's the US champion, but kind of an afterthought. He was put in the spot here right before two of the most advertised matches on the card. And it did have a pretty crazy spot. Jeff Hardy doing the swanton to the outside ring apron. Yeah, this is a guy who's not doing the swanton at live events anymore because his body's killing him so much. That was freaking insane.
That was some Mick Foley Halloween Havoc 93 Lloyds of London shit right there, man.
Seriously, you don't need to do that, man. But it was memorable because of how crazy it was. So I thought this match was fine. It was the result I expected, and I don't know. I have a lot to say about it. What do you guys think?
I think you just summed it up basically perfectly. It was just about that swanton onto the apron. That was it.
Yep. So 11-minute match, Nakamura retaining. So
Randy Orton did come out at the end. That was bizarre. I thought for sure Orton was going to factor into the finish. He did not. Comes out at the end, just walks down, and then he walked back. I thought for a second he might have found out Jeff Hardy actually voted Republican, and that's why he didn't do anything.
Oh, Jesus. How about Randy Orton? SmackDown. He travels there, and all he has to do is peek around the corner at the entranceway.
I thought that was great.
Cash in those checks, man. These brief appearances.
I don't give a goddamn what anyone else says. That was outstanding. Peeking Randy Orton.
Walk out on the entrance ramp and walk back at the pay-per-view. Cashing those checks, making money.
I saw a tweet. I can't remember who said it, but the whole Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy's earlobes thing. After the news broke about him and what the writers were doing, that really makes that shit seem a lot grosser, doesn't it?
Yes. Torture your earlobes if you won't shake his hand.
Yeah. If Jeff Hardy, if this was Invasion Jeff Hardy, there was a chance that could have been a really great match because they could have done a lot more quicker spots of dodging kicks in each other and like that. But 2018 Jeff Hardy just.
And Ryan mentioned it too, that they were not put in a good spot. For me, I said on our preview show, this was the match I was looking forward to the least on the card. And, them being put on before the two money matches was, didn't really do them any favors, and late too. Yeah. I mean, at this point you're, if you've watched the pre-show, you're 5 hours into watching wrestling. So, you probably go make yourself a cocktail or something during this one.
I made some popcorn.
Okay. Hence the term popcorn match.
There you go.
Justin, did you pour a vodka water during this one?
Oh no.
Basically every match.
I was drinking some icy light fresh from the rivers of the Mahanganela or whatever the hell that river is.
Justin, I didn't ask you, how were you feeling the morning after?
You do not drink icy light.
I do.
Oh, bless your soul.
Justin, the pay-per-view preview show, a little tipsy by the end of that one. How are you feeling the next morning?
Yeah, I took my dog for a walk yesterday, and I listened to the end of that podcast. Ooh, yeah, not sounding good, joint.
You can definitely tell you had been sipping the vodka, man.
Yeah,
it added to the entertainment.
I think you picked all three guys in the Gargano Ciampa match.
That was the best reaction shot. If you guys are just tuning in, and you did not see the show, hit our archive, subscribe on YouTube, look at our preview show, which was like 2 hours long. But if you watch like the last 10 minutes of the show where we broke down NXT, Justin gave a pretty thorough explanation for why Gargano was going to turn heel and win the title, but then he flipped the script at the end, and Kyle's reaction was priceless on the video feed.
When you do a 2-hour podcast, I'm gonna get drunk.
Yes, it was great, man. It's entertaining. That's what we're here to entertain. And
I would have done 3.
Yeah. So the Raw women's match, I will say, when the Bellas were there and they did the whole thing about how they were going to sit ringside for this match, I thought Alexa was going to retain. I was dead set on our preview show that Rousey was going to win, but when they did that promo backstage earlier in the show, I'm thinking, what's the purpose of this? Why are they going to be out there? So surely they're going to help Alexa do something, but that was not the case because this was another squash match, essentially. And Rousey just pretty much no-sold everything Bliss attempted. I liked the opening where Bliss was just dodging between the ropes to try to back her off. Like, really good heel work early on, chicken shit heel stuff. But when Rousey got a hold of her, that was it. And I guess this is what they needed to get the belt on Rousey. And not much of a match, but effective, I thought. Natalya was there. Oh, by the way, Michael Cole.
I mean, fuck you, Michael Cole, you dumb shit.
As Natalya heads out to the ring, he mentioned that her father had died a couple of weeks ago. So for the record, that was 6 days ago.
That fucking ass clown, man. He need goddamn Michael. I mean, and kudos to Natty, because 6 days after your father passes away, and we all know that they were very close, for her to be able to come out there in his jacket and, you know, paint a smile on her face when you know that's the last thing she wants to be doing right now. Kudos to her for being able to do that.
Yeah, that was cool. She was wearing the old school Heart Foundation jacket from
SummerSlam 90.
90s. Yeah, SummerSlam 90. Yeah. And so after the match, Natty celebrates with Rousey. The bells get in the ring. So eventually this is going to lead to something. But for right now, Rousey looks pretty much like she can't be defeated. So any problems with the way this match went? Was it what you expected? Did you like it, Justin?
I kind of thought Ronda Rousey came off as a little bit of a bully in the match.
I didn't think she got as good of a reaction from the crowd early on as they thought.
Yeah, it was just a little weird to me. I don't know. It was a little off-putting.
Well, they covered her spot calling as trash talking.
Yeah. Like, are you ready? Are you ready?
Are you ready? Like, I mean, which was okay, I guess, but like, it wasn't the awesomest thing in the world.
It served its purpose. I think that match just served the purpose.
It was what it should have been. It was exactly what it needed to be. And the only thing that would have been better is if Natty, after the match, would have told Nikki, "I told you so" about John in those promos.
Oh.
Oh.
You know,
remember that feud? They probably won't even touch on that. The Nikki feud.
When they were backing up into the entranceway, I was like, are we going to get a Gargano Ciampa turn here right now? And then they just end up walking off. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, what do you guys think of the face paint on Rousey?
Bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah. I liked it better when she was in NXT and lighter.
This guy, I'm telling you.
Maybe she's a big Mantar fan, is what I was thinking of.
I was thinking she was trying to be a little bit like she was the Japanese bride in Impact, or China. Yeah. I guess I haven't watched Impact. I know they have this like Japanese horror bride, and she has white makeup, and it's like a Japanese horror character on Impact.
Great, Derek. You've just opened a whole new can of worms. Now we're going to get assaulted by the TNA Mecha forums because we're not following Impact Wrestling. And
no more vodka for Derek.
No more icy light.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we knew probably going in that they were going to... Alexa has that weird double jointed thing with her elbow.
Yeah, that made sense to do that.
Yeah, that was pretty gruesome looking. That was pretty cool. So, yeah, good finish. And so that led right into Brock and Roman, which we've already covered.
Yeah, and for the record, Meltzer did report that they're doing Ronda, or at least thinking of doing Ronda Nikki at Evolution as the main event.
Yeah, that we hinted at that earlier, Justin.
I would just like to point out how freaking lame it is Trish Stratus is coming back. and her opponent just got murked by,
Well, that
Ronda
also
Rousey.
led people to think that possibly Bliss was going to retain somehow, because that's such a big spot. But
See, I actually thought it guaranteed she was going to lose.
in that fashion,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to go
although the
Justin
only
on
thing
that.
is, the only thing is them doing Ronda Nikki kind of negates my argument. I mean, I thought that before I heard about the Ronda Nikki news, because I'm like, well, they're not going to have, a legend come back to be in a title match. Well, apparently they are.
Yeah.
If you believe Meltzer.
So overall, thumbs up show, I would say. SummerSlam, good show. A couple of the matches I'd like to rewatch again, because I was covering them over on comicbook.com. Kind of hard to take in everything on the match when you're trying to write 400 words on it at the same time. But no, I thought it was a good show. I can't complain too much. So I did not think it was as good as NXT TakeOver. Both shows were good, but man, that TakeOver show was really, really good. And it's kind of just goes back to, NXT. They got 5 matches on the show. It's a 3-hour show. They've got 3 months to build the matches. It's just a much more focused, tighter product. And that's just not a luxury the main roster has. They got a pay-per-view every month. They've got a 4-hour pay-per-view, 6 hours if you count the kickoff show. And NXT just hit it out of the park again, I thought. And I didn't think there was a bad match on the show. I'm curious what you guys thought was the best match of TakeOver.
Ricochet Cole, easily. That super kick backflip spot was just the craziest thing I think I've ever seen in a wrestling ring. And I've seen Lawler throw fire in person.
That was
Derick
awesome.
with all my heart and soul. I would agree with Ricochet Cole. I have a more interesting question though after everyone answers this one.
Okay,
Matt
Justin.
Riddle.
Ricochet Cole was 1B for me. The tag team match was 1A because Tyler Bate is the best wrestler on the planet.
So those are my top 2 also. I like Ricochet Cole slightly better. I wrote in my review, but I thought that tag team match was maybe the best tag team match of the year in WWE or NXT.
Wow.
I will say
I didn't think it was as good as the TV one.
The Ricochet match literally made me gasp, like I think 3 times.
Yes.
To the point my wife was concerned about my health.
I thought I liked this one because it was in front of such a big crowd a lot of them are still getting used to seeing some of these UK guys. They haven't been on like NXT television all that much. And I thought Tyler Bate was made into a star in that match.
He was very good. He's very good. And they worked a very different style match than the title change they did on TV. That's the thing, where they worked on Trent Seven's knee. This was kind of a totally different direction with a lot of hot moves. I really liked the women's title match a lot as well.
Really good. Really good. I like the ending to that match.
Yeah, I cannot say enough positive things about Shayna Baszler. People who criticize her are dumb and don't know anything about pro wrestling.
Who is criticizing her? That's insane.
Dumb people, dude. They're like, it's the same people like, she didn't even run the ropes. It's the same people who thought Ronda Rousey needed time down in NXT.
That is insanity.
It's just like before WrestleMania 1 when Vince told Mr. T, hey, why don't you go work for the AWA for 6 months and I'll steal you from Vern. So here's my question. I guess I kind of tipped my hand a little bit. Where would you guys rank the main event, the Gargano-Ciampa match, as far as the 5 matches? Because I got it as 4th best of the 5.
I have a hard time ranking them, to be honest, because I love the show from opening bell all the way through. I really liked the ending of Tommaso Ciampa just getting lucky there. I really enjoyed every part of NXT. And those guys they have a chemistry that's just incredible. And I'm sitting here, I guess I really liked it more because I'm sitting here in a freaking Tommaso Ciampa t-shirt, but I really enjoyed the whole card. I don't really have I guess if I had to say a favorite, it'd be Cole Ricochet, but it's hard for me to say one match was better than the other.
Yeah, I guess I docked it a little bit because of the Dean Ambrose move of Gargano at the end, just, kneeing Ciampa and just flying into a table. There's a little bit of silliness with that.
Mm-hmm.
the match was still amazing. And I think with that one, even more important than the match is the story they've been telling with Gargano slowly slipping into the dark side because of how much he wants to, destroy Ciampa. Yeah, I was just match quality. I like the tag and Ricochet better, and Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane was just incredible.
Yeah, I think I would probably. Oh man, I'd put it third or fourth on that show. I really like the women's match too. To your point, Kyle. Yeah, that's tough. I was going to ask you guys where you would rank this with their takeover matches that they've had this year.
I'm going to open up a can of worms here. I'm not done. They got to be careful with this feud, man. They meaning NXT Creative, because it's the point that I made, and I brought it up on our WrestleMania recap show, that what they were left with, the brand was left with, where Johnny Gargano was clearly came out of that New Orleans show as a babyface you can build this brand around, and he should be the top babyface. But they had another babyface that had just won the championship. And that Gargano Ciampa match in New Orleans, the way it was worked was totally done as a blow-off match. But you kind of knew it wasn't. And I was like, yeah, there's some kind of bizarre. I'm like, look, this is maybe the best show I've ever been to live in my life, but some kind of odd pieces moving forward. And I think we're starting to see some of that come home to roost. Because look, I know this was not supposed to be a one-on-one match. They had no control with the black injury. This match felt to me, and I know you guys are all music fans, like a double album. In the sense there was a lot of good stuff, but there was fluff too. And I think doing like all these 30-minute brawls is a little too much. And there's an irony with whom I suspect is putting these matches together. Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Because what were their matches guilty of sometimes? Doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, remember the Bad Blood Hell in the Cell? That went like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Or the 3 stages of hell. I mean, those are like, they were wrestled like, oh, this is so epic. But they weren't like great, really. And I'm not saying that was this. I mean, this was still very good, but I feel that like this match, I think this match might have been better than Chicago. But to me, they're definitely steps below the first one. And I'm not sure they're ever going to be able to get back to that New Orleans level.
Yeah, that's a good point. Go ahead.
I think I totally agree with you. This does feel like some Shawn Michaels, Triple H filler. I think they realized what they had after New Orleans, and they decided the next 2 matches were the middle chapter. And so now it is actually filler before we get to the next steps.
Do we all agree that they need to take a break from this feud? And they may have to, because I think Gargano's knee, he may have legit hurt his knee, it sounds like. But do we all agree that they need to take a break from this feud for the next takeover?
Well, yes. And they knew that because they had Aleister Black lined up to be in this match.
Yes, yeah, that's very, and you're right. To be fair, they knew that too. That it was not the plan to do a third straight one-on-one match. You're right. Yes.
One thing I worry about with this is that they wait too long to put the title on Johnny Gargano. And to make a comparison here to another guy we talked about earlier, I think about Samoa Joe in the mid 2000s in TNA. He was super, super hot in like 04, 05, and then didn't put their title on him for a long time. They waited too long.
if we would have done this, I actually in a different life was doing a podcast at the time. The vitriol I had when he did not beat Jeff Jarrett at that Bound for Glory.
Yeah, they definitely waited too long.
I mean, I was looking for people to fight. I was like Derick after that Goldberg Kevin Owens match, man.
Man. Yeah. I'm glad I had a lot of icy light in me that night, because that was horrible.
No, but I do think it is a legitimate concern, because Kyle's talked about how Gargano is a guy you can build the brand around, and he definitely can. But if you wait too long, there's a fine line that you walk there. And I do think this feud can't go too long either. And yeah, I don't know. They have to take a break. I do think obviously New Orleans was their best match. I like this one a little more than Chicago, or a little less than Chicago, just because I thought the finish was a little bit hokey.
Both of the two, that's my issue, is that both finishes of the last two have been very, very overbooked.
Yeah.
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 Well, let's be honest here. The true person that they're going to build that brand around for the next year was introduced this Saturday night.
Yeah, that's an argument too, that you're going to have Matt Riddle into this equation.
Let's not forget about Keith Lee.
Yep, and Keith Lee. It's funny because we can, maybe if you guys want to, if you don't, I know it's getting late, but we can always speculate on the next takeover card, because they're going to do War Games, and that opens up a lot of slots for these Matt Riddles and Keith Lees to get a spot on that show, which is good. But, I come back to what I said after New Orleans. It was a little unfair that the Ciampa injury, Ciampa missed all that time before they did the match in New Orleans. But I just, to what Ryan just said about, maybe you don't want to wait too long putting this NXT title on Gargano. Would it have just been better if Gargano Ciampa New Orleans was just a blow off? I don't know what you do with Tommaso Ciampa at that point. And to be fair, he has been unbelievable. Not only as champion in the limited time, but before in the build up. But should they have had Almas retain against Aleister Black, send Black to the main roster, and just had Gargano chase down Almas and beat him here to get his revenge for all those losses he had to Almas?
Well, then you're just wasting away Aleister Black, because Vince isn't going to know what to do with somebody like an Aleister Black character.
See, I think for him, just the optics of it, I think Vince could get into that.
Yeah, because Vince is a character guy, and the character's cool.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't see him getting behind an Aleister Black, to be honest. That's just me.
I think it's a legitimate question, for sure.
Well, if you look at the way guys come up, it's
it's incredible how bad, don't call these guys up. Shout out to Velveteen Dream, because we haven't talked about him, with his tights. Call me up, Vince. Do you really want to be called up? Because you're going to get lost in the shuffle 5 minutes into your
you get more money too, but that's the thing.
I understand that, but you're going to get lost in the shuffle. He's not going to, he definitely isn't going to know what to do with a Velveteen Dream type character on his show. It'll be another No Way Jose or
let's not go that far.
Adam.
God, I hope not.
Or Adam Rose or whatever that.
Jesus, let's really not go that far.
That's what I fear would happen if they called up Velveteen Dream right now. It would just be something he wouldn't get. And
yeah, I thought he was tremendous on the show too. I thought
that was the weakest match.
That was the weakest match, but it wasn't a bad match. And the character work out of that guy is just off the charts. The tights were awesome. It was kind of rudish.
Supposedly EC3 may have suffered a concussion from that match too. Word going around.
Okay, that may explain then maybe why it was a little slow, depending on when it happened. His eye was fucked up for sure.
Yeah.
But Matt Riddle's here, and apparently he wears flip flops with really nice.
I saw that.
That was hilarious. I did see that too. No, TakeOver, great show. If you haven't checked it out, definitely, it's worth getting your free trial of the WWE Network. Watch that show.
It says something about the standard we have for these TakeOver specials that I don't think I saw some people actually saying, maybe it was a little disappointing even in some regards, just because the standard, and it was not the best TakeOver of the year. It wasn't as good as New Orleans overall as a show. I think it just says something about what the standard we've set for TakeOvers that, people, as much praise as it got from certain corners, I don't think anyone's like, best show ever or anything.
No.
Best show of the year or best TakeOver of the year.
No, just a great show.
Because
all around.
There were 3 matches, certainly, at least I would give 4 stars to out of 5, which is pretty crazy. And
well, in 8 if they were in the Tokyo Dome.
Yes,
8 stars.
If FS1 picks up NXT, they've got a lot of star power to do a weekly 2-hour television show. If that happens,
But do we want that though?
No, I don't.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, like, I actually really, as someone who typically binge watches NXT, I know we talk about that on this program. You know, I don't make it. I don't. Rarely do I watch it live, if ever. Like, I'm always like, okay, you know, I got a few hours, maybe on like just a random weekday, I'll watch 2 or 3 episodes of it. You know, I kind of like the way it is. You know, I like how it always leaves you leaving for more as someone who, you know, likes to go back on the network and watch the old stuff when it was an hour program, you know, Mid-South and World Class, just easy to consume.
You know, and I will watch it live, like when they announce, like, hey, Keith Lee's making his debut on NXT. That's when I'm like, okay, I'm not missing Keith Lee coming into NXT. It's really exciting, some of the people they've got coming in.
Yeah, I think one of the debates that's going to come up here too is how quickly do some of these guys get called up, just based upon how loaded that NXT roster is getting. And for all the guys who have questions about and how they'll be used on the main roster, there's some other people there that I think almost certainly are going to be stars on the main roster and are definitely ready now or will be shortly. You know, like, how long is Matt Riddle going to be in NXT? How long is Ricochet going to be in NXT?
I would actually hope that Riddle, they just have him there to kind of, you know, get used to a quote unquote WWE style, for lack of a better term. Yeah, work the hard cam. This is how we do things, you know. But to me, he doesn't need the NXT title. Actually, he could just be like, have like 1 or 2 blowaway matches at TakeOver and then just be sent up to the main roster.
Yeah,
please, God.
Where's Gargano, because of the size, and the presence of Daniel Bryan, who I think is kind of just it's too similar-ish of a character. I think, like the underdog, traditional babyface. Gargano is a guy who I'm totally cool with being a long-term NXT face of the brand.
See, I have a feeling Keith Lee is going to be put in kind of a Cassius Ono role here, to where he's just kind of there to help train guys in a ring. I don't know. I just got that feeling, you know.
I don't know about that. Ono for sure may never get called up.
No, man. He should just lost the weight and been the Shield guy.
Yeah. I mean, and that's okay. I mean, it's okay.
So you liked him when he was lighter, you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. Hey, I got the same critique for guys too.
Undisputed Era could go up at any moment and be solid on the main roster, I think.
That's a scary one for me. I love Kyle O'Reilly. I think he's a great wrestler. And I think if they went up as a tag team without Adam Cole, they would get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, it'd be the Revival. They'd be the Revival. And when you talk about this,
I'm talking about the whole faction with Adam Cole.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Roddy, Adam, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish.
Yeah.
The Roddy Kyle O'Reilly team.
They're good.
Good fucking grief. I mean, it's going to be interesting when Bobby Fish comes back, because with Strong in the fold, they've obviously gotten some kind of more marquee opportunities than they did back when it was O'Reilly and Fish teaming. But whew, O'Reilly and Strong are like just out of this world.
Yeah.
And I found that pairing to be a little bit more interesting, quite frankly, than O'Reilly and Fish.
Yeah, when they put Roddy with the group, it completely turned him around.
Do we think that the way they're going with Undisputed NXT is the 3 guys break off from Adam Cole and that's a feud?
I hope not. I like Adam Cole where he is with these guys. I want a legit stable somewhere, not just 3 dudes. I want 4 dudes. And you know what? If they call them up, maybe call up Cassius Ono with them and have them join Undisputed Era too. Why not?
No. Undisputed Era needs to join up with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has a long-standing friendship with Adam Cole.
There you go.
It would bring some more relevance to KO, because he obviously needs it now.
I saw something. I think I was watching. It was Adam Cole talking about when he debuted in NXT, and when he ran in, one of the persons he ran by was Kevin Owens, and when Kevin Owens saw him, they kind of glanced at each other, and Kevin Owens, the smile on his face was so big seeing Adam Cole joining NXT.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. I want one more topic before we roll this thing home this evening. And that's Ricochet. So since Ricochet just won the North American title, What do you guys think about Ricochet's prospects on the main roster? We've kind of talked about this in the past a little bit. He's another guy I don't think should be in NXT that long. Now obviously he's a title holder, so he'll be there a little while, but I hope he doesn't go to 205 Live when they bring him up. That would be a complete waste. He's smaller, just like someone like Gargano, but because of the acrobatic stuff that he does, I feel like he's kind of a once in a generational type talent that could be a massive star on the main roster. Justin,
where's Neville?
Where is Neville? Neville can't. I mean, Neville is a similar wrestler, but I think I like Ricochet more than Neville.
I agree.
I think his ceiling's higher, but very similar.
Yeah.
Be a great match to see on the main roster.
Neville's sitting at home thinking about how well booked he was as the cruiserweight champion and what the hell his problem was.
He apparently doesn't want to wrestle ever again because they're going to just sit on that contract from the sounds of it. So
I don't know what he wanted. I mean, I get the, I don't know. That's a different story, whatever. Fuck Neville. But no, it'll be interesting with Ricochet because the knock on him is going to be, well, he needs a certain opponent to have his kind of match. You know, what happens when Ricochet starts working with guys that don't do quote unquote his style match?
So Randy Orton. I just heard you say Randy Orton in my ears.
I don't know. I think, you know, I to be honest with you, I think there'd be some cool RKO out of nowhere spots you could do with them. I know you guys probably don't want to hear that, but
it's true.
Is my microphone false? Speaking out of nowhere.
He wouldn't shake Orton's hand, so he wouldn't get anywhere.
But I mean, I'm intrigued by it personally too, to see what Ricochet would do against, you know, guys that don't work his quote unquote style. Because even Adam Cole, I mean, you know, it was a good match.
Yeah.
Well, in terms stylistically, not just a good match per se. Obviously, it was a great match.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about that a lot watching him because I am super high on him. I said on the podcast years ago that he was my favorite guy in the Indies. And I think the ceiling's really high for him once he finally
goes in the War Games on the next takeover. Is what I saw a lot of speculation that
him and War Raiders.
Yes, yeah, against Undisputed and then British Strong Style. If they keep the same format they did last year with 3 teams of 3, I could see that being your War Games match right there. Because Pete Dunne, they had him do a interview on .com, which is obviously always done in kayfabe and done to further storylines where he's like, oh, I wouldn't mind getting in there with Ricochet. Well, I mean, that kind of telegraphs that, you know, they might be doing something.
Yeah. All right. Well, Derick, thanks for joining the panel tonight.
Hey,
pleasure to have you on, my friend.
Thank you. And I haven't had a chance to really talk to all 3 of you guys in one spot. WrestleMania weekend, it was absolutely awesome to get to hang out with you guys. Me, Ryan, and Justin, you know, we went to the brewery for afterwards, ate some crawfish, drank a few beers, and we watched some great wrestling shows. So, Kyle, it was great hanging out with you at Mercury Rising, even though we had to move into our spots because some 450-pound man pushed out my cousin on the row we were on. Oh, that was so hilarious. I felt bad for Ted, but then again, I didn't because it wasn't me.
That afternoon where we hit the brewery and had the crawfish was one of my highlights in New Orleans. That was a great time.
Same here.
We are definitely going to have to all get together again sometime in the future, wher it's a WrestleMania weekend, a SummerSlam, maybe in the future, or something. Royal Rumble, I'm up for any of it.
Atlanta's going to be getting a new has to be getting a big show here with that brand new stadium they have. So if the next big pay-per-view, if it's a big 4 in Atlanta, I'm probably going to go. And I think Ted's going to go up there with me.
Nice. And I'm hearing more speculation about Minneapolis in 2020 for WrestleMania. And to kind of bring this full circle to what we haven't addressed on the show yet, Kyle Ross knows there's a lot of Taco John's in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I have had for my birthday weekend so much Taco John's. So you guys are friends with me on the old Facebook.com. My wife had a few hours to kill. She works at a college here, and she was helping transport a lot of the new students. Nobody really cares about this, but I'll just make it quick. There's a lot of international students at this school, and she was picking them up at the airport and taking them to campus. Well, she had a break in the day, and it was my birthday, and she's like, well, what do you want to do? I've got all afternoon. I'm like, there's a Taco John's an hour south. Let's go. And so the whole family, we loaded up, went to Taco John's on Friday. And then on Saturday, we went to a party, and my good buddy, surprised me. He had his dad, who came up from out of town, stop at that same Taco John's and bring it to me. So I had Taco John's on back-to-back days over the weekend.
Y'all should really reach out to them about a sponsorship on your podcast with as much as y'all talk about.
I'm saying it, man. We need to. For those of you that have not tuned in, Taco John's and Kyle's love of it comes up almost every episode.
And when we were sitting in the restaurant, my family, they even turned off Fox News and put on MSNBC.
There you go. It was meant to be.
What a restaurant. You think Taco Bell would do that?
Absolutely not. Guys, if you like this post show, hit the subscribe button. Actually, also throw us a like down below the video. I see we've got about 20 of you still tuned in. You guys were here for the long haul. We appreciate it. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
And if you didn't like it, go fuck yourself.
I liked them better when they were lighter in NXT.
No, seriously though, hit that subscribe button so you don't ever miss one of our live casts. You can check out the full archive. Plus everything we do, we post the audio to iTunes, topropenation.com, wherever you can find podcasts. So you can check out the full archive. We will be back with you middle towards the end of this week with another edition. I think it'll be episode 71 of Top Rope Nation.
Those come after 70.
Yeah. I was trying to remember if this was 70 or 69. This was 70. 69 was the pre-show. So this was episode 70 of Top Rope Nation. Tell your friends. Let's keep this momentum growing, and we will catch you guys next time. Good night.